Asian markets were mixed, but players remained concerned about trade war issues as well as geopolitical tensions. The tepid start to the day followed tech-led losses on Wall Street, while an agreement between US President Donald Trump and Russia's Vladimir Putin to stop targeting Ukrainian energy was seemingly met with indifference. The Nikkei share average ended down 0.25%. The Hang Seng Index rose by 0.12%, while the Shanghai Composite Index closed down 0.1%. US markets traded lower on Tuesday, struggling to maintain the upward momentum of the two previous sessions. Investor sentiment is said to remain cautious due to economic growth outlook concerns in that economy, as well as the impact of the Trump administration's policy around trade tariffs. Market players all over will now be keenly awaiting the US Fed's interest rate decision to be announced later today. The expectation is that the US Fed could cut by a further 2 rate cuts this year, but the timing remains unclear. The Dow Jones Industrial Average declined by 0.62%. The S&P 500 fell by 1.07%, while the Nasdaq Composite Index bucked the trend, increasing by 0.31%. All right, locally, we take a look at what's happening on the bourse. We see that the All-Share Index is trading up 1.3% at 90,067 index points. In terms of the currency, we see that the rand is trading at 18.19 against the US dollar, 19.84 vis-a-vis the euro, and 23.60 against the British pound. On the commodity front, gold is trading at $3,035 an ounce, platinum at $980 on the dot an ounce, and Brent crude oil is trading at $70.28 a barrel. Okay, we're going to unpack what's happening with the markets with 𝗣𝗲𝗿 He's from the financial group EBC. Thank you so much for joining us. So all eyes will be on the US Fed today. What's the expectation? Do you think they might hold tight, given that higher tariff inflation concerns continue to kind of loom large? But then again, there are concerns about the US economy, that it could actually end up going into a recession. So what might they do?
Yes, so the markets are expecting the US Federal Reserve to hold interest rates today, keeping them within a specific range. However, inflation, as you've mentioned, is still a concern, especially with new trade tariffs adding extra pressure. At the same time, there are growing concerns of a US recession. Markets will be watching very closely to any signals from the Fed chair about what's next. And I think any hint of future rate cuts could drive some market movement. Investors are also keeping a close eye on the Fed's tone, particularly whether it's hawkish or dovish will definitely set the stage for the next few months. If they hint at easing this year, we could potentially see a rally in other assets.
Okay, we wait and see then. So here at home, we got the latest CPI reading. It rose by 3.2% in February on a year-on-year basis. That's the same print as January. This is well below the Reserve Bank's mid-target point of 4.5%. Do you think that the Reserve Bank will go ahead and give us another interest rate cut?
Correct. The inflation rate has remained at 3.2 in both January and February. So with inflation under control, there's speculation that the Reserve Bank may cut rates. There is talk of a rate cut of about 25 basis points. Having said that, though, global trade tension and political uncertainty could make the Reserve Bank more cautious. They will definitely be considering the rand's volatility, as a rate cut could put additional pressure on the currency. Plus, with the Fed's decision coming up, the Reserve Bank may opt to wait to see how global markets react before making a move.
Well, they'll have nearly a full 24 hours to make that assessment, because the Fed is making a decision today and then they have to make a decision tomorrow. So the local market appears to have remained steady this week despite bouts of weakness on other bourses elsewhere, but the rand is looking quite delicate, as you've already touched on. What do you think is, prompting the rand to gain, to lose so much? Is it really a factor of a stronger dollar, or is it idiosyncratic issues that are taking place within the South African economy?
Indeed. So, like you mentioned, the JSE has been surprisingly steady this week, even as global markets saw some shaky moments. However, the rand remains under pressure. It gained about 0.4% yesterday, trading at about 18.01 to the dollar, helped by a strong gold, actually. But today it slipped back to 18.20, around 18.21, ahead of the inflation data and obviously the Fed decision. Obviously, investors have weighed this in, and they're playing it safe until there's more clarity on the matter.
So despite all the troubles in the Middle East, the price of crude oil hasn't really budged that much. Yes, it did move up slightly, but it hasn't done so that materially. What's your reading of this?
Yes, so even with the geopolitical drama that's happening in the Middle East, crude oil prices haven't surged as much as expected. I think there's three main reasons for this. Number one being a stronger supply from the non-OPEC producers. Number two, there is definitely a stable demand. And number three, oil reserves are acting as a buffer. Additionally, I think markets have already priced in the risk, keeping prices from spiking dramatically.
All right. 𝗤𝗂𝗍, thank you very much for your time, sir, and good speaking to you. That was 𝗤𝗂𝗍. He's from the financial group EBC. We're going to take a quick break. We'll have some more news for you thereafter.